8 minutes gone past the 4 o'clock hour. This is Hard Facts, 99.3 Nigeria Info. It's time for Global Review, and today we're talking about the BRICS summit, I beg your pardon, that held this October. Many people would ask, of course, what the BRICS summit is about, and of course, how is it going to benefit Africa, and by extension, Nigeria? Now, the questions are many, especially with Nigeria being part of the Commonwealth, whole situation. And then, of course, Nigeria's got great relations with the West. And we obviously also know that Russia, there's no love lost between Russia, China, and the West. And many people are wondering what exactly these BRICS heads of state up to. Well, the summit this year actually held in Russia. It was hosted by Vladimir Putin himself. And those who are also part of the BRICS country, for those of you who do not know, Egypt, in 2023, by the way, we hear that people like Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE were invited, these countries applied for membership. Saudi Arabia was yet to formally join, but other countries had joined the BRICS. An invitation was extended to Argentina at the same time, but the South American country turned it down after President Javier Milei, elected in December, campaigned on the promise that he would bolster ties with the West. So this seems to be more like a dilemma for those who are already in bed with the West, if it would be a good idea for them to join the BRICS. But hey, we have South Africa, we have Nigeria, and for Nigeria, there are several question marks around Nigeria being part of the BRICS group in the first instance. But I'll let my guest, who's an expert, get into it. So this happened I think last week, from the 22nd of October. And then there's still questions that need to be answered. First and foremost, my guest is the publisher of the Southern African Times. His name is Farai Muvuti. He's also a great analyst when it comes to geopolitics. Farai, so good to have you join us. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I know the clock where you are has changed, so you were obviously confused about the time. Yes, it happens.
Yeah, normally with the Nigerian time, I'm uncomfortable because I know it's coincide with GMT, so. Yeah, apologies to my.
It's okay. So I was trying to talk about, the relationship of some African countries or most African countries with the West, being part of the United Nations, being part of Commonwealth, which of course is the ones that are connected to the United Kingdom. And then, of course, now this whole BRICS thing, at first when it started, many people thought he was not going to gain the kind of momentum that he has gained over the years. And here we are in 2024, and it held in Russia. And you obviously know that the relationship that the West has with Russia is not necessarily a rosy relationship. And anyone who's being seen to be associated with Russia might be considered some sort of enemy of the West. But Africa, especially South Africa, is really, really visible, in the BRICS. And now Nigeria is also there. In fact, many people thought that Nigeria was not going to be as well affiliated as it is right now. But hey, we're there. What does Africa really stand to gain with this whole BRICS, coming together?
Yeah, thank you. And first, I think we have to start by getting the history, helping people understand the history and the importance of BRICS, to start off with. So the BRICS initiative stems out of the coalition between Russia and China, who in the early 1990s, in more specific 1997, decided that they would actually expand on the principle of a multipolar world. And of course, the culmination of that has been what we're now seeing, which is the introduction of a BRICS partnership, which includes, of course, your Brazil, your Russia, as you had so rightly mentioned, your India, and now your South Africa with China as well. And now, the entire conversation was about increasing global South voices in spaces of global economic governance, but more so to also discuss about how we can devolve issues relating to security and geopolitical strategy as it impacts the global South. Now, as you know, there is the G20, there is the G7, there is the UN, in which a lot of these spaces, the global South is not rightly represented, at least at a level of parity or equality that then enables our issues to equally be raised to the top of the podium, as it were. Now, what this allows, of course, what BRICS then allowed, was for a resurgence of the South-to-South conversation that enabled us to not only have discussions around our economic development and equally speak to the priorities that, by the way, are very different from the global South. So we needed a South-to-South partnership in which we could actually take cognizance of the day-to-day realities of this particular global South initiative. Now, when it comes to, of course, now there is this reading that, well, being pro-global South is to be anti-global North. That isn't the case. It is to be pro-global South, yet wanting to coexist with the global North. And that's why it shouldn't be of any importance whether, South Africa or Nigeria or any other country was present in Russia at the backdrop of a Ukraine-Russia conflict, because it doesn't, these particular conflicts and our style of resolving these conflicts may not coincide with the global North's approach, but it does not necessarily mean that we can differ and not remain agreeable.
Interesting. Like I said when I was opening, there are a few countries that were invited. Some have formally joined. Saudi Arabia is yet to formally join. Some Southern American countries are like, no, we're not going to do that, for obvious reasons. But let's talk about, Nigeria.
Yes, there's a number of countries that have actually come, that have been invited, that attended. The countries that did not attend sent representation. For example, Saudi Arabia, the prince had representation at the BRICS summit, but they were not able to attend because they had a prior engagement with the U.S. Foreign Secretary. Now, that's understandable. But there is this framing of this narrative that, there are some people that are not interested in joining BRICS, which I find to be quite deceitful, because BRICS is currently the biggest the town, and everyone wants to join. If you recall last year, the French Prime Minister wanted to attend, and almost inviting himself, only to be reminded that actually you do not belong to the global South.
Yes.
So it is definitely a fever to participate in the BRICS.
Do you sense some geopolitical, I'm looking for the right word, feistiness, or rather, I don't know, I'm looking for the right word. The fact that there might be people who just feel that it shouldn't be because this is giving some level of power to China and Russia.
Yeah, I think there has been that particular hesitation, but as you found earlier in Biden's administration, there was this categorization of, we are the Democrats and the rest of the world, and China and its partners are autocrats. So there was that framing. We realized during the tenure, as the term went on, as his presidential term went on, that tone began to be somewhat reduced. I think probably because they realized that actually you have countries of significant importance. Saudi Arabia, Iran. Who would have thought that Saudi Arabia and Iran would have been able to have a discussion in which, on the same platform, something that works against U.S. interests in the Middle East, and as far as its strategy and approach to these particular global South, in particular this particular region of the world, how they tend to approach that particular narrative. But who would have thought that there would be there would be some sort of an agreement or some sort of reduced tensions as a consequence of BRICS, which demonstrates its geopolitical strategy as well from a security standpoint. So you find that there's a toning down of languages now. There's more to suggest that perhaps we should engage more. And perhaps pointing to one of the benefits of Africa, I don't think that the African Union would have been called upon to join as the 21st member of the G20 if it wasn't for the existence of BRICS. So it gives us a lot of latitude and something to pivot on as we negotiate with the global North.
Let's talk about
there will be judgment, but there's a realization that growing multilateral institution.
Let's talk about how this will help the African economy in general, because whether we like it or not, the whole world for some time has been experiencing some sort of inflation, and it has affected economies differently depending on the cushioning effects, or rather. things that governments have put in place to help cushion the effects of the inflation in the different countries. But for Africa being part of BRICS, because I know that also part of the agenda for the BRICS in general is to address, just as you said, certain things that have to affect the South, where they're being left out for the United Nations and NATO and all of that. But how is this going to translate to building better and stronger economies for the South, for Africa? Remember, one of the things that was pushed by the former leader of Libya before he was killed was a unifying, currency for Africa. And if you're going to have a unifying currency, then it means that our economies have to be one way or the other intertwined, and that means that we all have to come to the table to think of strategies of how to make our economies better. Is that on the table?
So I think a lot of BRICS papers and also experts and officials have been very clear that currency is not necessarily the priority for them. There is no sense of, what you're looking at is a local payment system, and you're looking at, which basically means we switch notes. So Nigeria will be able to pay its debt off in its actual naira rather than in the US dollar, which we tend to do when it comes to the IMF, where we have to pay in these hard currencies. And what you find is that helps mitigate a lot of the inflationary performances that occur as a result of the US dollar. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, it plays a strong position. Now, but when it comes to what the other benefits that it creates, I think So I think one of the other benefits that it creates is that for the African continent, it benefits through, I think, three things. Mm-hmm. In terms of increased trade, manufacturing capacitating of our manufacturing. It also capacitates us in terms of technology transfer, and also from a knowledge base and skills perspective. Now, and also I mentioned the local payment systems. Now that capacitates our economies. Now, let's start off with, of course, the aspect of technology. Mm-hmm. The aspect of technology, I think you'd find that in the BRICS membership alone, we have 40% of global trade system, of the entirety of the world trade. Mm-hmm. But more so, the lead is in technology. I don't think there's any country in the world right now that is developing in terms of technology as fast as China and India in certain areas, right? Now, what does that do when it comes to the regional partners and projects of development? You get the New Development Bank, for instance, which is talking about more development of funds that can focus primarily on African priorities, mm-hmm. which is something that has been absent. Because if you recall, the IMF and the World Bank, when it comes to our lending capacity, it tends to be there is an impact on policy making. So if your policy making may be looking at perhaps let us look at social development, so building social housing, for instance, mm-hmm. More investment into healthcare systems, more investment into education. Those sort of priorities that we may have at a very primary level, those priorities are not considered. And sometimes there's a reshaping of those particular reforms, and they introduce a lot of austerity measures, as you've seen in Kenya and so forth. But having a new development bank that continues to expand and also be able to send out debt pegged against, of course, the US dollar, but us having the capacity to pay back in our local currencies eases the tensions on our inflationary positions, and it means that the interest rates as well will be quite amenable to the point in which we can manage them. So there is a consideration here of what has been decades and decades of a global developmental challenge when it came to the financing of our economies over Africa. So I think as a final point, what I need to stress is I don't think there's a keenness to looking at a currency. What they're looking at is creating a mitigating factor to the currency issues that we have. So when we borrow against the US dollar, we have a lot of inflation that surrounds us. So what they need to do is introduce a mechanism that enables us to cover ourselves, right? So that it strengthens it. So it basically capacitates the smaller countries to have advantage at play through a local payment system.
I totally agree with you, and I get that. It will be really great in the long run. But again, as much as the BRICS partners want to reduce their independence on the US dollar and the SWIFT system, how is the West going to take that? That again, that will one way or the other be threatening the dollar. And you know that that's not something that is welcomed by the West, especially the United States that owns the dollar.
Well, I think competition is particularly an important ethos when it comes to global capitalism. So I think the West will have to begin to swallow that reality up. I think one thing the West knows that it has going for it is the strength of the dollar. But diversification for developmental countries enables us to have much more trade players, which will further capacitate their trade. So to see it completely as just remember, the BRICS countries don't intend to replace the dollar, because the dollar. Remember, China is interdependent to U.S. trade as USA is interdependent on China. What they want to do is create a parity, a balancing effect, which enables all smaller economies to equally become to the party. But if the question is of dominance and hegemony, I think that question is going to be thoroughly battered, because the future is one in which developed economies want to move closer to economies that enable them to have mutual interest, mutual growth, and mutual respect. So because of that, you'll find that the BRICS may become a leader when it comes to a leading platform where you find alternative voices that are representative of the global South narrative.
Okay.
So it takes nothing away from the US. All it does is it removes the hegemony and also reduces the risks that a number of African countries have faced over the years.
All right, we have to go on a quick break. Farai Muvuti is a publisher of the Southern African Times. He's going to be here with us to take questions.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, it still is the season of giving. So says oneplay.ng. That is why they want you to dial the code *347 *880 *3#. Yes, if you want our money, dial that code. Or you could go to the website at www.oneplay.ng, as in one, the number one, PLAY.ng. Once you get there, select Nigeria Info as your station, and just like that, your ticket will be in the draws. Of course, you have to commit the paltry sum of 500 naira to each ticket. Now, you can play as many times as possible to give yourself a bigger chance of winning. And remember that your chances of winning are pretty much the same whether you play on oneplay.ng or you use the code *347 *880 *3#. Now, remember that at the end of the week, there's going to be a 500,000 naira jackpot. I know, it's mind-blowing. You can't beat that. You definitely can't beat that. So, your qualifying for that is dependent on you playing the game during the week. What am I trying to say? I am saying when you dial *347 *880 *3# from your phone, or go to the website at oneplay.ng to play the OnePlay game every day, you automatically qualify for the jackpot that comes at the end of the week on Friday. Yes, it's announced on Friday. That said, ladies and gentlemen, play responsibly. Make sure you are playing with only what you can afford. And once you play, make sure you keep your phone very close, because that lucky call could be coming in at any time. Yes, at any time. OnePlay is a registered trademark under Lasho Trading Services Limited, licensed by the Lagos State Lotteries and Gaming Commission. Keep playing, keep winning, and keep smiling to the bank.
My ions, please, can't get enough. My ions, please, give it to me now. It gon' rehydrate you, yeah. Replenish your ions with Pocari Sweat. Rehydrate you faster, easy we observe. Pocari Sweat, give me some more. Pocari Sweat.
Hello there, it's the Wema Bank 5 for 5 promo, Season 4. Bigger, better, with 135 million naira to be won. 50,000 naira to 10 winners every day. 250,000 naira to 50 winners each week. 11 million naira to 131 winners every month. And the grand prize of 5 million naira to 1 winner. To participate, transact daily to qualify for the daily draws. For the weekly draws, fund your account with a minimum of 2,000 naira and transact to qualify. qualify for the monthly draws. Fund your Wema Bank account with a minimum of 5,000 naira. Transact at least 5 times and keep a minimum balance of at least 5,000 naira to qualify. Use the Alert app, Wema Alert card, or *945# for all your transactions to qualify. I like it for you. Wema Bank 5 for 5 promo. Transforming lives. Many winners at a time.
In the cooking game, you need a winning game plan. I'm not just talking about your fresh ingredients, utensils, or cooking skills. I'm talking about your choice of seasoning. Your game plan is incomplete without Maggi chicken flavor. Made with a flavorful formation of onions, celery, turmeric, it's the game changer. Elevate the taste of your everyday dishes with delicious, rich chicken flavor. Oh yeah, let's go.
New Maggi chicken flavor, the game changer.
If you need comfortable shortlets to stay on that quick business trip away,
download Escapade.
Or you need luxury apartments for that house party or fun getaway,
download Escapade.
For comfortable shortlets that fits your budget, use Escapade. Luxury apartments that suit your pocket. Hey, start your trip with Escapade. Find a crib to your taste. Book a place for your stay. Come away with Escapade.
Escapade is the user-friendly app that connects you to suitable shortlet apartments across the country. For business trips, team bonding, house parties, games nights, special celebrations, and family vacations, Escapade is seamless, convenient, and easy to use. Quickly download the app, find a place to your liking, take a 360-degree virtual tour, make a choice, and
book a place for your stay. Come away with Escapade.
Escapade is available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
Download Escapade.
Who says you can't have it all with one play?
I got that defined boy. You have just won yourself.
Congratulations.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, Melitus. One player, don't talk to 2 players because you won 20K.
So now you won yourself 20,000 naira.
My name is Well Done.
Okay, well done. I want to tell you, well done. You won yourself 20,000 naira.
With 500 naira, you can play to win big. From 120,000 naira to 190,000 naira daily on Nigeria Info. Go to oneplay.ng and play with 500 naira. And in a few seconds, your ticket is in the draw. Or dial *347 *880 *3#. Win daily on Nigeria Info. 50,000 naira on Morning Crossfire. 60,000 naira on WhatsApp Lagos. 20,000 naira on Sunnyside. And 60,000 naira on Game On. So Lagos, what are you waiting for? The more you play, the better your chances of winning. Remember to dial *347 *880 *3#. Play responsibly. Not suitable for persons under the age of 18.
It's so good to win in the Cowbell So Creamy So Good promo. With 150 million naira worth of cash and loads of free airtime up for grabs. To stand a chance to win, simply buy 10 sachets of Cowbell 12 gram or 1 Cowbell 320 gram refill pouch. Submit the empty packs to any collection center near you and exchange the sachets for a scratch card. Scratch the card to reveal a unique code and text the code to 1393 to enter the draw. Promo runs from October to November 2024. For more info, visit www.cowbell.ng. Terms and conditions apply. Cowbell, a creamy goodness.
Are you ready for the anticipated season? It's Lemon Friday promo. The Lemon Friday promo is here again with a juicy offer. Enjoy 40% to 45% discount on all land purchase this season from Adron Homes and Properties, and get a chance to spread your balance within 36 months to 48 months with gift items like turkey, bag of rice, chicken, big cow, gas cooker, and many more. Don't miss out on these festive treats to become a landowner with ease. Our estate locations are Lagos, Abuja, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, Niger, Nasarawa, and Jos. For more inquiries, please visit any of our offices or call 090-9393-4115 or 08134216595. Terms and conditions apply.
Adron Homes.
Building cities, communities, and homes.
Enter the Onga Taste the Millions promo with 250 million naira worth of cash and prizes to be won. To stand a chance to win, Buy any of the new promotional packs. Take 1 empty sachet of the Onga 90 cube pack or 2 empty sachets of the Onga 50 cube pack to the collection center closest to you and exchange the sachets for a scratch card. Scratch the card to reveal a unique code. Text the code to 1393. Promo runs from September to October 2024. For further inquiries, visit www.ongamillionspromo.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Grandpa, who's the man in this picture?
People call him a farmer, but he's more than that. He's a mountain that can't be taken down. A very simple man, but he's bold as a lion. A hero who stops at nothing to defend his people. He is
Lishabi, The Uprising, now showing on Netflix with plans starting from 2,200 Naira only.
You define better odd. I be you one play cause over 1.5. I be you one bet. Say both seem no go score at all. Oh yeah, we get better payout. No worry, we there for you. Our odd chapter out. In a day for best baba. Feel we money, bet baba. Cash out the day easy or bet baba. We get online games for you to play. Oh God, yeah. We get better bonus. And me no dano. Welcome to Bet Baba.
Register now on betbaba.ng. Not for people under 18.
Any platform can help you save. But when it comes to investing, you need a partner that you can trust and is committed to helping you achieve your goals. A partner with a global footprint, diversified investment options, and great returns that help you grow. You need RiseVest. RiseVest is your partner for dollar investments like U.S. stocks, U.S. real estate, fixed income, and Naira Savings Vault. Invest with RiseVest to earn interest between 8 to 15% in dollars and up to 25% in Naira. Download the RiseVest app or visit www.risevest.com to start investing. Rise. Investments that help you grow.
ValueJet is thrilled to announce our brand new routes from Nigeria to Malabo, Equatorial Guinea.
Fly with us from Port Harcourt to Malabo once a week. Whether for business or leisure, ValueJet flies you there in style and comfort.
With quality service, on-time flights, and affordable fares, your journey starts with ValueJet. Plus, there is an option for excess luggage, making your travel even more convenient.
Don't wait. Book your tickets today. Visit our website at www.flyvaluejet.com to buy your tickets.
Always ready.
ValueJet. Wings for everyone.
I'm in love. Sonia tomato mix, stand up. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to scoop? And is it to stir?
Sonia tomato mix in a new stand-up pouch.
Hey, here's a question for you. What gets you out of bed in the morning? Is it the sunrise? The sound of your alarm? No, it's that dream, that drive, that unstoppable force inside you. And you know what fuels that drive? It's starting your day strong with the rich, creamy taste of Nescafe Original 3-in-1, carefully crafted from selected coffee beans. So, whatever your hustle, go from maybe or I can't to I can and I will. Nescafe Original 3-in-1. Start strong, finish strong.
Mommy, small inside today inside the pizza.
Oh, I don't tire for them. Even for inside the semo and rice.
Store your grains and other foodstuff them fresh inside the Bako Zero Fly storage bag for up to 2 years. Where insects them no fit enter. Bako Zero Fly storage bag. They use better hermetic technology to buy insects within inside the grains. After you don't tie the bag well for 3 weeks, it go protect your grains them from insects waiting outside. Come keep them fresh and safe without any preservatives. Follow these steps for better protection. Step 1: arrange your grains and food items them inside the Bako Zero Fly storage bag. Step 2: tie the bag well so that air no go enter. Step 3: Softly keep the bag for one corner. Bako Zero Fly storage bag. They everywhere for Nigeria and NAFDAC approve am. Buy your own today. Bako Zero Fly storage bag. Bag with the protect.
This November, prepare for an epic clash of intellects. I Beg to Differ Secondary School Debate Competition is back.
November the 11th, 2024, 32 of Lagos's brightest secondary school students will step up to the mic, where words become weapons and ideas ignite battles. From Monday, November the 11th at 4 p.m., they'll face off in fierce debates with only one goal: to be crowned the I Beg to Differ champion. Every round is a fight for glory, where one brilliant mind will rise above the rest. Who will be crowned the champion of thought? The ultimate showdown of wit, wisdom, and will is about to begin. I Beg to Differ Secondary School Debate Competition Season 8 commences Monday, November the 11th at 4 p.m. For sponsorship, please call or WhatsApp 0805-581-5844. I Beg to Differ is proudly supported by Card Center Nigeria Limited, Obiwizi, and Lucas Green Fashion House.
Introducing the essence of true authenticity in fragrance, Wazobia Perfume, the correct scent. A unique blend that captivates the authentic spirit of Nigeria, now available in both perfume and body spray variants. Designed for everyone. Yes, Wazobia is a unisex fragrance, perfect for both men and women. Its rich and versatile aroma is a statement of inclusivity and unity. Unleash your confidence with each and every spray. Are you a retailer, or do you love to buy in bulk? We've got you covered across Nigeria. Wazobia Perfume comes in cartons of 24 bottles, and the body spray is available in cartons of 48 bottles. Interested in making Wazobia Perfume a part of your collection or store? For carton purchases, contact us at the email address contact@wazobiacosmetics.ng or call us at 0201-330-0047. That is 0201-330-0047. Our team is ready to assist you with your orders. Wazobia Perfume, the correct scent. Your new signature fragrance is just a call or a click away. Authentic, unisex, confidence, Wazobia.
Welcome back to your number one talk, news, and sports station. This is Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info.
Millions of listeners trust us on Hard Fact. Whether it's politics, social issues, controversies, and trending stories, you know we're credible and objective.
It's Hard Facts with Maryann Okon on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
All right, it's still Global Review, 99.3 Nigeria Info. The program is Hard Facts. Farai Muvuti is still here. We're talking about BRICS and how this will help the economies of course, most importantly, African countries. Don't forget Nigeria, South Africa, very obviously in BRICS. And Farai has told us about, the level playing field that BRICS is trying to create. And, of course, this will help. But then someone was whispering in the studio that, hey, who's to say that China might not just become, the Chinese yuan might not be aspiring to be like the dollar someday. What do you have to say about that, Farai?
Well, firstly, China would have to have a per capita that matches the United States, which it's far from doing. United States per capita is sitting at about over 40,000. China is barely at 20,000. So, although we've seen dramatic increases in terms of their wages, local wages, but that is going to dramatically improve perhaps in the future. But the additional evidence suggests that China does not intend to look at this from a currency hegemonic standpoint is because it devalues their currency, which means that they'll have to print out more and then have to face the challenges that America faces when it comes to currency management. So I don't think China has an interest in dealing with the nitty-gritty of currencies and so forth. It has no appetite for that. I think what China clearly wants to do is do what it has done inherently. If you are aware of or familiar with Chinese history, you know that things like the Belt and Road initiatives are not new initiatives. These things existed at the height of China's empire. So what they're simply trying to do is expanded their global footprint as far as trade. In fact, their first initiative when in the first summit of the BRICS, part of their initiative that wasn't adopted at the time was expansion of network and equal expansion of trade. That was the agenda, because they see this as a vehicle to expand trade. But also, and how is that good for Africa? Well, it's good for Africa because it gives us an alternative. It means that, for example, South Africa held the presidency of BRICS last year. Part of a consequence of holding the presidency of BRICS is that you are able to set the agenda. So part of the agenda setting that Africa was able to do, or South Africa was able to place, is value-added goods, or an intermediate value-added goods. Now, with value-added goods means greater level of employment, access to finance, green finance, and so forth, and a bigger market. So earlier I mentioned that I think I need to correct a point I made earlier. I meant to say 40% of the countries in the BRICS occupy the crude oil supply chain, which means, and notwithstanding that, you also have, collectively, some of maybe on average above 50% of global trade. What does that do for Africa? It means that you have a greater market share, you have a greater market experience. So if you're adding your value-added goods, so Nigeria currently is faced with the challenge of exporting oil that is just crude oil. Granted the opportunity of technological transfer, new access to markets without the reliance of necessarily dealing with just the trade dollar, you can actually diversify these economies that are drastically dependent on raw commodities. So this creates a value addition that can generate a greater income and greater performance for our global, or rather our continental trajectory in as far as our collective GDP becomes. And then if you corroborate that with the Africa free trade, BRICS becomes a good complementary factor, because it means that where we are weak institutionally, we have to now think about, so one of the things I tend to recommend to government players, policymakers, is that you have to be thinking about each government in the continent should have what they call a BRICS strategy policy paper. Okay, how you intend to approach the BRICS. But how do you do that? You do it through your regional network. So ECOWAS and your SADC, right? Each country having its own paper on what its priorities are. They therefore negotiate how they want to intersect or intermingle with this particular gigantical market play, right? And so as they approach as a region, it's a greater level, a bargaining tool, because not only are you bargaining with the BRICS, but you're also doing that with the global North countries. So it's greater leverage for Africa, and which is a good place to be, given the fact that we've not had much of a voice. If you look at the UN, we're not even represented in the Security Council. The mere proposal of the Security Council performance, or participation rather, comes with the clause of us not having veto power. So the question is, how useful is that to us? Whereas a new multilateral organization, in which even when it comes to security issues, as we are seeing with the representation of Egypt and Ethiopia on one platform, countries that have not really had open doors for some time because, of course, of the River Nile, this platform begins to actually activate part of the principles of the UN, because the UN Charter, when it began, it sort of built a system in which if we can't resolve it from a regional level, then escalate it. Now we have a platform whereby we can devolve some of these very contentious issues from a regional perspective. So there are multiple advantages. So we shouldn't see this as a platform where China gets its way. In fact, there's evidence that China has not always gotten its way, because, as you know, there are differences between China and India, but India still plays ball. And in the past, there have been differences between China and Russia. In fact, the Americans have always counted upon the strategy of containment by ensuring that there's a division between Russia and China. Now they're collective. So it's not about China replacing, U.S. hegemony. I think it's about creating a counterbalance to Western hegemony.
Great. Well, I see a lot of people trying to call. Well, you can join the conversation. You have questions for Farai. Farai Muvuti is the publisher of the Southern African Times. He's also geopolitics analyst, and we've been talking about BRICS and, of course, the sort of leverage that it gives to African countries who are participants. 0201-277-0993. You could join the conversation if you're male. For the ladies, 0201-465-7190. You can send me a WhatsApp message, 080-959-75805. We're also live on YouTube and on Facebook. You could be part of the conversation. Hello, welcome to Hard Facts.
Hello, good afternoon, Maryann.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, you have the merchant.
Yes.
The question I have for your guest is, in this bipolar world system, what is the place of British interest? In as much as Nigeria has been inducted into BRICS, what is the likely interest of the stance of British interest in Nigeria as a former colony of British Empire or British government? Okay. That's my question.
All right. There are people who actually ask why we still have this whole Commonwealth heads of states or governments thing, Farai, that it's still, so it smacks of all kinds of neo-colonialism. It should be actually disbanded.
Well, I think it's a good question. I think historically, as you know, the Commonwealth was established for former colonies to have a relationship. My country itself actually walked away, but we're currently reapplying. And part of the reasons why we're reapplying is because of the market access grants. So I think there's no problem of having associations with entities such as the Commonwealth if you find them useful in the context of your trade. Nigeria is a big country with vast opportunities, with objectives, I think, of diversifying the economic layout. Mm-hmm. And so if you find other markets that enable you to do so, I think you should do so. So joining BRICS does not necessarily mean that you disown all the other historical ties that you have. If they don't make sense economically, then of course do so. But if they make economic sense and gives you greater latitude to have leverage when you negotiate, then I think Africa should be now smarting up to the need for us to be in multiple conversations, right? And taking away from conversations that benefit us, to tabling our priorities and making sure that even if it's at the Commonwealth, we are putting forward our priorities and we're not being used as political pawns, as it were, to further maybe local domestic influences of the Brits that they may have in terms of their domestic policy calculations. But we should also have a clear strategy about how we engage each multilateral institution, what our anticipation of it is, and how we measure the particular outcomes, because multilateral institutions then become just talk shows and talking points. But if we are to change that, the best way is for us to go in with a strategy. And this is what countries like China do quite well. And I think we're also learning a little bit from that. So as Nigeria, I'm sure you're aware that there's a joint ministerial department that has South Africa and Nigeria ministers discussing on a day-to-day basis about policy and so forth. Now, the more we see our two biggest economies engaging and thinking strategically how Africa is going to be presented from a multilateral standpoint, it means then that cascades and filters down through to the other regional bodies and perhaps injects a level of effectiveness, especially from the African Union level, as well as our regional bodies. Okay. So I think we can walk and chew gum. So we can remain agreeable with the world and yet still pursue our fundamental structural, economical, and security interests through the BRICS as well.
Well, Farai, thank you so much for being part of the show. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Farai Muvuti is the publisher for the Southern African Times, and you can actually follow Farai on social media. He's always great with these analyses, and he's always talking about something new, about the continent. Thank you so much, Farai, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Take care.
Well, Lagos, there you have it on Global Review. On the other side of the clock, we will be joined by Budget as we analyze the fiscal performance of different states across the Federation. Stay with us. David.
Well, definitely GDL has been talking for the past few weeks about house money. Now, you're probably asking.
99.4 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.